cycles, and they know, what makes a successful business. And, they're seeing that in this ecosystem, some of the most generational businesses of the next 10 years are going to get built because these entrepreneurs are unlocked.
Okay, so hi everyone,
and that's just a dream.
welcome to the new episode of New Forum.
So
we are going to focus mostly on Social 3.0 in perspective with DeFi, decentralized finance. And we have amazing guests, and while everyone is joining, I'm going to start with a quick presentation to talk about the whole concept in general and also in the context of the new coin protocol. So I'm going to share my screen. All right, so Social 3.0, I will go very briefly on the social side to really focus on the financial part. So the whole idea is that current social networks are the place where we spend most of our time, the place where most of our attention is currently. It's half of the planet is currently connected to...
What? What are we connected to?
Okay. So social networks is where our attention is. Half of the planet is on social networks. And the big challenge with social networks is that they are owned by private companies that are driven by profit, and they are slowly turning the world into a kind of extracting machine where everyone gives their time, their attention to those platforms and get all the value extracted of them. And so you have algorithms and all kinds of technologies that are designed to just keep people as long as possible on those platforms so they can consume ads and they can buy products from the advertisers. And obviously they keep all the money, and so it poses a lot of issues. And so the social 3.0 concept is that instead of having social networks that own everything, they own the content, the data, and the financial incentives, we are recreating a balance between content creators on one side who become the owners of their asset by using blockchain technologies, the same technology that is behind Bitcoin, Ethereum, all those platforms that are usually used for money. And now we are bringing the whole internet into those new decentralized softwares. And on the other side, app developers will be able to provide their interfaces, their algorithm, and so on, but more as a service where it will be enhancing the experience of creators who will not only own the data, the content through NFTs and technologies like that, but also the economic incentives. Because the power of blockchain is that it has properties that enables new economic models that are driven by smart contracts. And so if we look at the evolution of the internet, it started with purely broadcast systems where it looked like the TV or the press, where you have companies that own the content and the distribution of the content. And we moved to Web 2.0, where it's the era of social platforms, user-generated content, where everyone is suddenly able to offer their content and access all the audiences, but still under the control of those platforms that can decide to deplatform people or to keep the profit, or so you basically can use those platforms to express yourself, but the underlying economics and the governance of those platforms is still highly centralized, concentrated, and private. And so the next iteration is to not only give people the ability to express themselves in a decentralized way without having a boss or an algorithm that controls them, but also will be the owners of the whole. So if you look at currently social networks, if we combine them all together, we are talking about $2-3 trillion market capitalization. What if this was owned by the people who actually participate in those networks? So it means the content creators, but also the people who browse those platforms and so on. And so that's the natural progression towards total decentralization, and that's what Social 3.0 is about. And so if you compare social 2.0 and social 3.0, so users become creators, posts become NFTs, followers becomes patrons. Patrons are people who invest money into content creators, and the likes become coins.
Those were helpful YouTubes, right?
We will get into, I can go actually directly into the tokenomic. So the concept of tokenomic is that on those platforms, because you have smart contracts are those programs that make commitments, basically, so you can make sure that if the program is written in a certain way, it's going to execute in a certain way. When you have social 2.0 platforms, what happens is because a company owns the code, they own the data, they own everything, they can just change the rule continuously. So one day the algorithm is like this, one day it's like that, one day you get this percentage, one day you get demonetized or monetized or over-monetized or deplatformed. They're completely controlled and they can change the rule at any time. And so if you want to build your career for 2 years, 5 years and invest in a platform, it's very dangerous to know that they can change their opinion at any time and change the rules. So the power of smart contracts and those technologies is that they are reliable. If they say they do something, they cannot change. So that's sometimes a problem. If you look at Ethereum, for example, one day there was a big hack and they could not cancel the hack because it happened within a code that is out of the control of any company. And so they had to create a new blockchain network that was redistributing exactly the same balance to everyone without the hack. The hack, I think, was something around $300 million or something like that. And so people who wanted to keep the old network with the hack became Ethereum Classic, and people who adopted this new network that was a reset, let's say, of everything that happened before the hack became Ethereum. So that shows the level of decentralization and the lack of ability for a company to actually intervene in what happens. And so because you can trust those things to be immutable and to do what they are supposed to do, you can imagine all kinds of deals between people, all kinds of social contracts between the participants of those networks, where you can innovate, let's say, in terms of rules and economics. So here I'm going to explain one example, which is the new coin protocol and how it works. And it will give you an idea of what is this decentralized finance thing. So on the new coin protocol, so we start with let's say the top left. You have a pool. A pool is a place where you can